Welcome to Mr. Mutlow's Topic in 10 Minutes for OCR A.S. This video is concerned with the topic of media in sport. When considering the media's role in sport, it is important to consider the various things which it sets out to do. The first role of the media is to inform. In simple terms, this means to tell, notify, or let people know about something. A sporting example of this would be to inform people about football scores in a show such as Final Score or Soccer Saturday. The second role of the media is to entertain. In this sense, the media is concerned with interesting, occupying, and amusing the general public. Examples of this include half-time shows in many sporting events, which are simply designed to prevent the viewer from channel hopping to a different broadcaster. The media also has the role of educating the general public about sport. The role of sport and the media as an educator is to teach people about issues or skills. Examples of this may be documentaries about people's sporting lives, or documentaries about drug taking or other issues involved in sport. The final role of the media is to advertise. This simply means to promote or publicise, and we see prime examples of this at all sporting events. These may include billboards, which cameras pick up, adverts during shows, and shirt sponsorship, as an example. Of course, without the media, sponsorship is pointless, as it does not get to a worldwide audience as many of the big companies hope that it will. Equally, without sport, the media loses a huge percentage of its income from channels and programs which relate to that activity. And without sponsorship, sport would struggle to survive, as much of the money and income generated is through sponsors and other organisations. The relationship between sport, sponsorship and the media is described as the golden triangle. The relationship is represented as a triangle as the three elements are inextricably linked. If you were to take one away, say sport, the three-sided shape would collapse and the relationship would no longer exist. It is important that you understand the golden triangle and are able to explain the relationship between sport, sponsorship and the media in an exam. The media also has both positive and negative impacts on sport. We will consider these for the last part of this video. I will begin by considering the positive impacts of the media on sport. The first positive impact of the media on sport is the introduction of more money. Media is big business, and therefore it brings with it large financial revenues. These may come through advertising, sponsorship, or the media companies themselves. A second positive impact of the media on sport is the creation of positive role models. The media helps to portray positive athletes in our living rooms. It makes us aware of good behaviour and good sportsmanship, and this helps to promote these ideals. The media are also responsible for some positive rule changes and the development of games such as 2020 cricket, which are designed to be media spectacles. Without the public and media demand for a shorter version of the game of cricket, T20 may never have developed. The media also brings with it more advanced technology into sport. As we discussed when we talked about modern technological products in the Drugs in Sport video, things such as Hawkeye, decision review system, television match officials in rugby, or goal line technology in football are only possible due to the increased media coverage and the greater number of cameras at stadia. Another positive role of the media is to improve standards in sport. Greater access to coaching videos and coaching aids via the internet or television, and an increased ability to watch top-level sport helps to bring about an improvement in standards at grassroots level too. The media has opened up the world of sport into our living room and therefore allowed us all to watch high-level competition. The media has also impacted on sport positively by promoting healthy living and a lifelong involvement in sport. By seeing people on our television screens or on the internet who are healthy and active, our chances of doing likewise are increased. The media has also enabled professionalism to spread and increased the number of professional athletes. The money which is provided through the media and sponsorship, and through television rights, for example, enables athletes at a lower level to become professional, and therefore increases the numbers who are able to train full-time in a given sport. The media also helps to challenge myths and stereotypes. For example, the idea that women are not as good at sport as men is challenged by watching women's cricket or netball on television. This helps to break down stereotypes and reduce discrimination. Equally, the media helps to highlight minority groups in sport. For example, Sky Sports' School of Hard Knocks rugby programme gives a voice to homeless people and highlights the plight of that group in society. The issue of homelessness is therefore brought to the attention of the general public. Clearly, therefore, there are a number of positive impacts of the media on sport. But is it always such a good thing? We will now turn our attentions to the negative impacts of media on sport. One of the major negative impacts of the media on sport is a reduction in participation brought about by an increase in spectating. Whilst this may sound strange, the ability to sit and watch football, rugby, cricket, or other sports in your living room may reduce the chances of you participating, and may increase the sedentary lifestyles which are a problem in society today. A second potential negative is a loss of privacy for athletes. Whilst they are public figures, athletes also have a private life, and unfortunately the media can often intrude in this area. In the hunt for a story, we often breach the rights of those we are seeking to find out about. Another negative impact of the media in sport is the distribution of money. We see financial rewards for the few, but not for the many. It is true that the media does bring in large sums, but much of this goes to the top end of sport and not to the grassroots level. In many cases, the grassroots level is where this money is most needed. With the increased pressure of the media, we see an increased win ethic. If you think back to the video on sport in the USA, you will remember that the win ethic refers to a win at all costs mentality. With increased funding, pressure and speculation from the media, the chances of athletes producing acts of deviance, such as violence or drug taking, are higher, as the stakes when one wins are also increased. Increased media attention can also lead to boredom. The over-publicising of sports such as football can lead to the public getting bored, and therefore a lack of interest in some of these games. The media can also be guilty of focusing on the trivial and negative aspects of sport, rather than the key things which occur on the field. It is not uncommon in programmes such as Match of the Day to see a 5-minute discussion about a red card, despite the fact that the game was won 3-0 by one team or another. Whilst controversial, the red card is trivial and negative and does not send out the message we want to be promoting. If more airtime is devoted to the red card than to the 3 excellent goals scored, we are sending a negative message to the viewers. The media can also be responsible for encouraging prejudice in sport. Take women's sport, for example. Whilst we do see evidence of some women's sport, such as football, cricket and netball, it is far more limited than the coverage of men's sport, and therefore the stereotype that women are less successful or less good at sport is reinforced. This may not be deliberate, but it is the case. The use of pay-per-view television by the media also has negative impacts, as it removes from public view some sporting events and makes them available only to those who can afford it. When events such as the Ashes are taken off Channel 4 and given to Sky, as happened about 10 years ago, the access to the Ashes for the masses was lost, and therefore the chances of people participating in cricket were somewhat reduced. It is fair to say that pay-per-view television brings in more money for sport, but this can be detrimental to public access to these sports or sporting events. It is not just females that the media in sport may discriminate against. They also focus on majority sports. Take hockey, for example. We do not see much of it on television when compared to rugby or cricket or football, and therefore its access to media coverage and the benefits that bring are not particularly prevalent. This impacts on the funding, participation and other factors lower down the sports performance pyramid. The same is true of netball or rowing or other similar sports. In a similar way, the media can be responsible for reinforcing myths or stereotypes. The idea that all football players are thugs or yobs is reinforced through the media, as much of the coverage is on negative things, as we discussed earlier. This reinforces a myth which is not actually true, but gives us that impression through media coverage. The final negative impact of the media is its increasing control over scheduling. The media are now often responsible for dictating start times and fixtures. Let's use Premier League football as an example. It is now possible to watch up to 6 games of football at a weekend, plus 1 game on a Monday evening. In the lower leagues, all games kick off at the same time because there is no media coverage. However, because of television rights, the Premier League games are staggered so that more games can be accessed by the television companies. This is not necessarily beneficial for the players, but it is for the television, and therefore it occurs. In that sense, the interests of the players are not at the heart of scheduling, and the interests of the media have become more important. It is therefore clear that the media has both positive and negative impacts on sport. It is important that you are able to discuss both of these in a reasoned way and draw your own conclusions. It is also important that you can refer to and discuss the Golden Triangle and explain the 4 roles of the media. If you can do this, you are well placed to answer an exam question. That concludes the topic in 10 minutes on media in sport.